Thank you, councillors, members of senior staff, and members of the clergy, press. All welcome to Temora Shire Council's April meeting, and I declare that meeting open. This meeting is being recorded and will be placed on Temora Shire Council website for public information. We do have two recordings, one as a normal system and another backup system as well, to do our very best to ensure that we can cover any technical glitches. All present today are reminded that while speaking, we are agreeing that our view and comments are being recorded and published. We're also reminded that if we are not speaking, we are, as we always are, respectful of others and that we use appropriate language. And Temora Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures during this council meeting. So thank you. In welcoming Pastor Darren Cupkey to the chamber, it's great to have you in the chamber with us, and we'd ask you to please lead us in our opening prayer.
Thank you, Mayor. And looking around the food and drinks, I'll now understand why some politicians refer to it as the party room. So maybe we need to rename the council chambers. I want to start tonight with a reading for Sunday from 1 John chapter 3, verse 1. See what great love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God, and that is what we are. And so they say that hurt people, forgiven people, forgive people, and love people who know they're loved are more likely to love people. And so I want to remind you that God loves you all, and may you love others. So let us pray. Father God, we thank you that you have chosen to be our Father, called us the children, and that you love us, not just a little bit, but extravagantly and lavishly. So continue to pour out that love on your councillors today, on our shire. Help us to love and respect each other. And today we pray for Peter Miller as he recovers. We pray for his family. Grant them your peace, your joy, your hope. We pray for all who are unwell this time, Lord, that they would turn to you and receive healing through your name. So guide this meeting today in the name of Jesus and the power of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Pastor Darren. Councillors, apologies. I think we have a full deck present, which is terrific to see, except we do have the Director of Environmental Services as an apology, who is unwell today, and we acknowledge the presence of the Town Planner, who is acting in his capacity today. So someone prepared to move that we receive the apology. Thank you, Councillor Slade. Councillor Smith, move and second. All those who have opinion, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Clear motion carried. Thank you. Any declaration of any interest, councillors, at this time? I just have one in late item correspondence in relation to Cambridge Local Health District. All councillors receive those late reports on their desks.
I haven't read them yet.
No, that's right. But you've received them. Yeah. Thank you. Councillors, we now go to the confirmation of the minutes of the March meeting of Temora Shire Council. Someone that was present here to move that they received as true and correct. Councillor Smith, you've moved that way. Seconded. Councillor Oldham, moved and seconded. All those that have opinion, please say aye. Aye. On the contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you very much. Any matters arising, Mr. General Manager?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council, we now proceed to a mayoral minute, which is in your late reports. Number one, Council will be thrilled with the news of the recent announcement of funding under the New South Wales Government's Fixing Local Road program. We will receive a grant of $850,000 towards the Old Cootamundra Road widening project. Add to this Council's contribution of $280,000, This gives a total project amount of 1.13 million. Council warmly thanks our New South Wales member for Cootamundra, Ms. Steph Cook, MP, for her strong support in advocating for these funds. Council also acknowledges the work of our Manager of Engineering Services, Mr. Rob Fisher, Works Manager, Mr. Alex Dellenberg, and members of the Engineering Department. Their efforts have been most appreciated. We will continue to make the most of these unprecedented grant funds, as one never knows when the world will dry up. Number two, I advise Council that after a briefing from our Works Manager, Mr. Dellenberg, our Angel Road second 12 reconstruction has been recently completed. The overall project cost was $1.2 million, with almost $900,000 from our state government through Fixing Country Roads program. I'm currently working with the state member for Cootamundra, Ms. Cook, to have an official opening sometime in June of this year. There's hope that we can have the New South Wales Regional Transport and Roads Minister, the Honourable Paul Toole MP, to officially open the upgrade. Council will be informed as soon as the date is determined. Number three, I formally advise Council the meeting I had earlier in the week with Murrumbidgee Local Health District Chief Executive Mrs. Jill Ludford. This was in relation to the unfounded claim of Temora District Hospital maternity section being earmarked for closure. This refers to an article which appeared in the Australian on the 26th of March 2021. When this story was drawn to my attention, I immediately rang Ms. Ludford to seek her views. Ms. Ludford indicated the suggestion in the article about Temora was completely incorrect. Mrs. Ludford then asked me to remind Council of Murrumbidgee Local Health District's ongoing and genuine commitment to build up our maternity ward, not diminish it. Ongoing staff training is occurring and continuing to be encouraged. Mrs. Ludford indicated she wanted to build Temora District Hospital up, not bring it down. This is consistent with previous formal written advice received from Mrs. Ludford and the Murrumbidgee Local Health District Board. Our state member for Cootamundra, Ms. Cook, has also given solid assurances there's absolutely nothing in this whatsoever. Of course, we will continue to keep a watching brief as our Temora District Hospital means so much to the entire Temora Shire community. Further to that, councillors, I've spoken to Ms. Ludford again today and suggested that we have a meeting with council, with her one afternoon, a round table and some of our doctors that are available, and just have a close the door round table about some of the things that we're grateful for and also some issues that we may have. She thought that was a great idea, and then we thought we could adjourn and just have some fellowship and a drink and maybe some things to do just in a relaxed, casual atmosphere. So that is something that I've written to her this afternoon after she thought that was a terrific idea. So we'll keep you informed as to when that round table will occur. And number four, I wish to place on record Council's warm thanks to our local Temora Police Sector Sergeant Tyrone Stacey and his team for the excellent work they've been doing to lawfully raid those who are suspected of dealing in drugs and firearms. There have been a concentrated effort in this space across the arena where the Sergeant Stacey is leading his team to ensure all those who are involved in this criminal activity are brought before the court and dealt with appropriately. The time is always right to give genuine thanks and praise, and I do this today on behalf of Council. And number five, Council is reminded of the Council Elections Candidates Forum, which will be held on Thursday the 13th of May at 6:30 p.m. at the Council Chambers. I encourage those who are seriously contemplating standing as a council for Temora Shire this year's elections on Saturday the 4th of September. My fellow councillors, together with the entire staff, encourage anyone who genuinely has the Temora Shire community at their heart, wishes to work hard in building the Shire up and is willing to be part of a strong and united council team to please attend this forum. Council thanks the General Manager, Mr. Lavelle, for his efforts in arranging this important information session. Number six, Council, together with the Temora Shire community, will delight in the news that we may have Anzac Day ceremonies this year. Temora's Callaghan Park Cenotaph will host the dawn service. Springdale will have its service at 9 a.m. Mary Park and Temora will also hold its 11 a.m. services at their respective cemeteries. Even though there still will be some form of COVID safety plan in place, I encourage the community to please consider attending one or more of the Shire's Anzac Day services. Council will host the ex-servicemen and women of Temora Shire at a mayoral reception next Tuesday, the 20th of April. All of us, in our own way, will take time to pause and reflect on the significant sacrifices our brave ex-servicemen and women have made for us all. Every single one of them have a special place in our hearts, particularly those who did not make it home. We will remember them and we will continue to honour them. Number 7, Council and the community will be thrilled with the ever-diminishing COVID restrictions. It is so very pleasing to see many community and sporting events returning to some form of normality. It has been a very challenging time for many, particularly those cherished residents and staff members in both Greenstone and Narrabri lodges. To this end, the General Manager and I will be visiting the residents of Greenstone and Narrabri to update the residents on Council's various projects. It is crucial these precious souls understand they are very much an important part of our Shire community. It is their shoulders that we are standing on. I warmly commend our Temora Shire Council team for the strong leadership we have and will continue to provide during these COVID times. The Council also thanks every citizen of Temora Shire. Thus far, we have kept COVID out of our patch and every single individual can be proud of their role. Let us continue to do the right thing until all of us have had the necessary vaccination shots. As restrictions ease further and further, we must ensure we continue to do what Temora Shire residents do best, look out for and take care of each other. Councillors, there's a recommendation there that the mayor will be noted. I will move that way. Second, Councillor Winky, thank you. Moved. Second, further discussion. If not, I'll put the motion. All those in opinion, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, let's now proceed to your business paper. We go to page 11, the Roads Hierarchy Committee meeting. I was the chairman of that meeting and discussed a series of matters there that are listed, and so I'm prepared to move that that report is received. Thank you for Deputy Mayor Councillor Ryan. I'll move and second. All those in that opinion, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The motion is carried. Thank you. Councillors, the report and the recommendations are there for you to consider. If not, is someone prepared to move the report and its recommendations? Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Councillor Smith. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, I will put the motion to you. All those in that opinion, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Let's go to page 26, the Youth Advisory Committee report, and Councillor Slade is the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report as it stands is very covered. It covers everything.
Thank you. Would you like to move the report?
I'd like to move that the report be received.
Thank you, Councillor Slade. Second for the motion. Please, Councillor Rutherford. Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those in that opinion, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you, Councillor Slade.
I think I already made a comment at the previous meeting that we're very, very lucky in the tremendous support that we've been given in this Shire by the part-time, full-time working staff. And I say part-time because they're paid part-time, full-time working because they never seem to stop. They're wonderful. They're doing a great job, and I'm glad to see that Cherie has moved very capably into that position. So hopefully everything will go very well there. But I think that everything else pretty much stands as it is reported. I don't think there's anything else that I want to draw attention to.
Thank you, Councillor Slade. I do note that the exciting and busy time for the youth team with the youth made markets tomorrow and Saturday.
Saturday, that's correct, yes. If you're not sure, just go down the main street and have a little big sign up above the intersection.
Actually, it was lovely. I mentioned the councillors talking to Mrs. Butcher today, and the first thing that she said was to extend her warm congratulations to council, in particular our youth officer. And I said, oh yes, why would that be, Jill? And she indicated she had an interview on ABC Riverina of Mrs. Elvin, our youth officer, promoting this youth made markets, and she was absolutely thrilled to bits with the initiative, with the way our youth officer articulated in a measured and passionate manner. So I mentioned that to council because I think that was lovely feedback. Oh, is the deputy mayor going to touch on that?
Sorry, I heard that report this morning on ABC. Yes, I heard Cherise speak on ABC this morning. She did a very good job, and the centre was very impressed with what's going on.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Slade. Councillors, the Youth Advisory Committee report is there, and its recommendations contained therein. Is someone prepared to move the adoption? Councillor Slade.
Thank you.
Second, the Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you very much. Let's go to page 37, Assets and Operations Committee report. And Councillor Winky is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just note that the reports as they are, the draft Temora Shire Sports Ground, the Parks Ground Reserve Plans and Management, and second point, the footpaths and nature strip request. There's two major items to discuss.
Yes, you'll move that we note that we receive the reports. Thank you. Second, Councillor McLaren, moved and seconded. All those in that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you. Councillor Winky, would you wish to elaborate any further?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. I now go to Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor McLaren.
Thank you. Just a comment on report 3.2, the footpath and management request. I understand the Heritage Advisor was visiting this week, and I wonder whether that is that correct, whether that issue had been raised with him.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I defer to the Engineering Services Manager.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, that is correct, and I think we might bring that report back to the next Assets and Operations Committee. He doesn't really have too much further information yet, but he's going to get some very limited options, as what I'm saying.
Thank you. So a report will be furnished to the May Assets and Operations Committee. Thank you. Further items, Councillor Jones.
Just mentioned the page 81, the point I brought up in general business. Very good initiative I see at the moment of putting wider centre lines on our state roads and that, and it's certainly going to be a much safer option for our roads. And I know coming in from Marion Park, it's certainly noticeable. I'm very happy to see.
Thank you. Councillor Jones, I think we'd all endorse Pat's remarks very warmly. Thank you. And also in the business without notice, I will highlight what we're commending our staff during the recent flooding events. And our engineering works manager, Mr. Fisher, indicated that we have put in application for natural disaster declaration is estimated about $1.5 billion in repair works required. So do we have a timeline, Mr. Manager?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. We're just, so we put in a tentative or an indicative request for assistance, and we're just in the process now of collecting, detailed data, and then we'll furnish that information to the government, New South Wales government. But I'm not exactly sure. I'm a little bit worried that they fall on deaf ears, but yeah, there was some significant damage in the areas of particularly, southeast around to the northwest, there's quite a lot of damage in this area, and I'd say worse than 2012 and 2016 in some areas. So it's definitely worth following up, but I don't really have much indication other than that.
So this is, as I understand it, federal money being provided to the states to administer. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. There's thresholds, so council pays some, the state pays some. Once it hits a threshold, the federal government comes in. It's a bit more complicated than that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something along those lines.
Right. Thank you. You'll keep us informed. Thank you. Councillors, anything further? Information Assets and Operations Committee report? If not, is someone prepared to move the recommendations of the report?
Yeah, I'll move that.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Winkie. Councillor Smith. The second of the motion moved and seconded. Further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those in that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, we now proceed to page 87, Economic Development and Visitations Committee report. I was the chairman of that meeting, and there were several items that were discussed. Certainly, the temporary work accommodation was one of the committee discussed at length, and there is a recommendation there on page 89 to consider. And of course, the cooperative meeting and other various items that are listed in the business paper. Someone prepared to move that the Economic Development Visitations Committee report be received. Councillor Oliver, Councillor Slade. Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those in that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you. I did note, councillors, that there were several councillors that were able to attend the Temora Cooperative meeting. I'm not sure whether anyone wished to comment on that. It was a good roll-up, of course, around that 50, but it's just, I suppose, a bit surprising to some of us that there wasn't a steering committee formed, but I'm pleased that TBEC and Council partnered together to at least facilitate the meeting and listen to what Cootamundra are doing, and ultimately, if it's to succeed, it'll have to be driven by the community. Is the bottom line. Thank you, the Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, just comment. I mean, there was a reasonable number of people there, but I was a bit disappointed that there wasn't that many business owners at the meeting. I thought that's the sort of thing that they should be behind it. If you're trying to get a business in town, something that'll take over from one target, that brings all sorts of people into the town, and they do other shopping while they're here. So I would have thought would have been better representation from the business owners that were there, but at the same time, I'm hoping a lot of the current business in town sort of start filling a few of the gaps where left by target closing down. I don't know that the cooperative thing is really going to work that well after listening to the CUDA delegates.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Yeah, look, I was surprised. I know there was a multitude of apologies and everyone's busy, but I was surprised there wasn't more of our business sector there. Councillors, anything further in relation to the Economic Development Visitations Committee? If not, is someone prepared to move the adoption of the report and recommendations, please? Thank you, Councillor McLaren. Councillor Winkie, moved and seconded. Further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in those opinions, please say aye. Aye. No. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, over page 101, the Emergency Management Committee, and who is the chairman? Mr. Dellenberg. Did the engineer attend?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. If someone cares to move for Emergency Management Committee report be received, please. Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Councillor Wing, move to second. All those in that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
No. The motion carried. Thank you. Councillor, just to draw your attention to page 161, essential energy, I don't know whether, when we read their point 3, Temora Depot moved to later location, I sort of started at kittens. So I rang Mr. Dellenberg, our engineering works manager, and he indicated that, well, actually, I'll read it to you because I asked him to put it in writing to the council. So, number one, the 3 depots shut due to a positive COVID test that were in Byron Bay area, not locally, but this had impacts through the business core locally in the way Essential Energy operates. 2 positions to be made redundant. These redundancies are unlikely to impact this area and are predominantly metropolitan based. However, the closing of smaller depots may impact smaller sites just outside of Temora, which will result in Temora's depot being a slightly larger site/hub. Essential Energy are also looking into relocating from their current site in Temora to a new Temora-based site to accommodate expansion due to extensive termite damage to their current depot. So that, councillors, we needed to clarify for you straight away, and I thank Mr. Dellenberg for that. So, councillor. So, if you wish to speak, yes, sorry, Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to comment on that page as well, 161 under note 4, the local land service comment, the last line where it says, or it's noted that there's no concern with infestation of mice here. I'm just wondering what page we're on.
Thank you, Councillor McLaren. Well, yes, I'm not quite sure why those remarks were made, but I'm sure that may have changed their views as at today. Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Reinhold.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on page 137, the vulnerable facilities list, if we could add Temora Community Centre to that list.
Vulnerable, yes. So that you believe that that's appropriate to do so? Well, what we could do, Councillor Reinhold, if Council's happy, we could suggest that inclusion, and to see if it fits the bill, then we can include it.
Yes. When the flood just recently was within millimetres of coming in the back door of the community centre, and there were several people inside the building that have a disability, so I think it does fit the purpose.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was noted. We go now to Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in relation to that item on 161 about Essential Energy relocating to a larger location, I know years ago they used to use a thing called creosote on the poles, and that's a carcinogenic or something like that. I think it's very dangerous. I'm just wondering, do they have any obligation to somehow do soil tests and rehabilitate that site if they do end up relocating? That was what I was.
Thanks, Councillor Oliver. That's a good question about notice. It shows the Acting Director, Environmental Services.
Had to hold it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll take a look at that and report back to Council.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We now go to Councillor Slade.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that's a very important report, but what it says I'm not quite sure. I had a negative initial reaction in reading it. Can we please have, if we're going to use so many initials during the course of the document, can we please have an appended list? I mean, it's good practice, and it's a practice that is absorbed here, that the first time an abbreviation needs to be explained, it is explained. But unless you want to go from page 17 back to page 12 and then back up to page 19, you go slightly mad. And it's not critical of the way of the work that the people put into it, but I think just as a matter of courtesy to those of us who don't have the skill for acronyms.
Thank you very much, Councillor Slade.
Oh, sorry, just one other point. Yes, I'm just wondering, and I'm looking now at page 114, and I've got in the first, under the purpose, it says emergencies controlled by combat agencies. Do I take that to mean the armed forces, or is there something else? I'm not being sarcastic.
No. I appreciate the question. If you can, thank you, Councillor Slade. I prefer to the.
Sorry, Mark.
I prefer to the engineering services manager.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, my understanding is that the combat agencies are police, fire and rescue, ASCS, they're a function. I don't know exactly which ones are out.
Right, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. But I do take a point, Councillor Slade, in relation to, look, the Mayor of Germany, Mayor Neil Smith, I know he is always at our Rear Chief Executive, always about that point, and it is a very good point. For example, on page 162, under number 6 RFS, visit Temora High School on the 29th May will undertake a major PIP. Now, I've had a few ideas what I think that could be, but I won't even ask the engineer. But anyway, I think the council is happy that we do ask these hard-working emergency management committee members, particularly the secretariat, that if we can just have, when it's first mentioned, the full title, and then the user recommend thereafter. Thank you. Council, anything further in relation to the emergency management committee report? If not, is someone prepared to move the report and recommendations with, of course, the inclusion of the acronym and the other one? Yes, thank you. The Temora Community Centre inclusion in the vulnerable table that we have. Councillor Slade, move that way.
Yes.
Second, the Deputy Mayor, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Copy no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much indeed. Right, no further committee reports. Therefore, we now go to page 163. We have delegates' reports. Thank you. Delegates' reports from councillors. Councillor Smith.
Yes, Councillor Oliver and myself between the whole committee, and they just seem to have it pretty right, and they just roll on with it. There's no great dramas out there. Any next?
No.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. Councillor, just in relation to update council in relation to our Sportsman of the Year awards, we did indicate that we would award the main number of those, the main awards from the year before last, and also again the nominations we've received are closed tomorrow. Have been very low. Now, of course, there wasn't a heck of a lot of sport, of course, being played in the last 12 months, but there were some. Very ordinary response. The Executive of the Sports Council will be meeting tomorrow at 5 o'clock. The Rec Centre, and we'll also have our inspection of the Rec Centre as well whilst we're there. So we will be determining what we do in that space. So we will inform Council at the appropriate time. And further, councillors, that there is a REROC executive meeting tomorrow via Zoom. There will be a REROC and JO board meeting Friday week, 23rd, which the deputy mayor is going to be able to at this stage. And there's also the JO Chairman's Network will meet in Sydney going the 27th of May, it's the Thursday, and and actually the general manager will be on his well-earned annual leave from mid-May to mid-July at this point, and the Director of Administration and Finance has the pleasure to accompany me to Country Mayors and the JHS Forum. So that will be a very special time for us to build a bond and share respect. Further delegates' reports.
I'm not quite sure.
Councillor Slade.
I'm not quite sure, Mr Mayor, whether it's a delegate's report, but I know several of us were involved with attendance at the opening of the amenities block at Nixon Park, and then shortly afterwards, after a hectic chase through the back roads, the opening of the area park skate rink. I mention them for no other reason than to congratulate everybody who's been involved in both groups, and I know that praise was duly heaped on the people really responsible, but I just felt that in particular the area park performance was probably one of the best community participations I've seen at an opening ever, and I've been to a few. So congratulations to everybody who was involved in both those projects, and our Shire is richer for the provision of those. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Slay. You're so true to raise that at this time, and I thank those councillors and staff members that were able to attend. They are special. I know in recent years with this tsunami of grants that we've received, sometimes you can think, oh gee whiz, what are we happening next? But I know this council and our community, we don't take for granted $1, and they were very heartwarming. I don't know how much Councillor Judd paid those skateboarders area park, but it was just heartwarming to see kids, to see grandmothers, mums and dads and citizens, businessmen. It was heartwarming. Likewise, Nixon Park, certainly nowhere near as many, but very special accomplishment, and all of those from councillors to staff that were involved in that, they've done us proud, and we can't forget, of course, Mr. Member for Cootamundra for supporting those projects at Councillors Workshop and recommend, and of course the staff member endorsed those, which is terrific. So thank you, Councillor Slade. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to echo those comments of Councillor Slade, particularly our area park with the work of the Engine and Works Manager, getting that skate park to be as extensive as it is. There were many kids with skin off purposely enjoying the facility, and also the pool was absolutely first class. It'll do them for a long time. It's absolutely fantastic. So congratulations.
Thank you. Councillor McLaren, you're quite right, there's a beautiful space at Area Park Memorial, that's for sure. Councillor Winkie.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I was really pleasantly surprised to see all the children actually using the skate park and the actual level of noise, which was very minimal. And I think for a steel structure, that manufacturers have done a wonderful job of keeping that noise level down. So I thought it might have been a bit of a nuisance out there at times, but no, it's the opposite. It's amazing, and they're really enjoying it. And echo Councillor McLaren's thoughts on the bill as well. They done a wonderful job out there, and forming the change rooms, putting in the access toilet, and plenty of room, and a wonderful job. They look absolutely perfect inside. Excellent.
Very much. And the Mac Jane's egg biscuits, I might add out every part.
Our hats off to those who put all that together, and the planning that went wrong doing it really well.
Thank you, Councillor Winkie. I now go to Councillor Judd.
Thanks, Councillor Slade, for your remarks, and also McLaren and Winkie. Yes, the most pleasing thing the other day was probably saying, not just the young people there on the skate park, but very large group of older people there that come down with their walkers and their gophers from the Peppers and everyone else. They had to buy them, of course. But they were all there. It was a great social event, and certainly I really appreciate Steph Cook being there and made a great day of it. Also commend, I'm very disappointed engineer Rob Fisher couldn't be there. That's been said, Rob put a lot of work into that project. We went through a number of firms trying to find the right one. We really wanted the ultimate, but we had to settle for what we had, and that was, as Councillor Mickey said, with the sound deafening material we were able to use, it certainly made it acceptable in Erie Park and Melbourne, and it's been greatly being used, and it's very good project we've achieved. So, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Judd, and certainly has been acknowledged on the day, but we acknowledge it in the chamber, your persistence and advocacy together with young Will O'Hare to see everyone appreciate that and acknowledge it. It shows that perseverance can, on occasions, can pay off. So I can see you standing quietly proud on that day, Councillor Judd, with young Will. Councillor Joe?
Yeah, when first young Will came and saw me 4 or 5 years ago, I said, don't just ask him for things that's going to happen. You've got to make it work. And one of the first things he did was come and address council, I remember, and there was only a young bloke, a small young bloke, now he's a tall young bloke. But and then the next thing you have to do is form a committee and work towards raising some funds, and that's what they did. So it's a great effort, and I think it's a great learning curve for the young people that, things just don't happen. You've got to work to make sure they do happen.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it any better. Thank you. Further delegates' reports? If not, we go to page 164 of the business paper, Mayor's report for the month of March, and there's a recommendation on page 168 that Council notes the Mayor's report. Councillor Winky, thank you. Councillor Reinhold, and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, I will put the motion to you. All those in that opinion, please say aye. Aye. No. The motion carried. Thank you very much, councillors. Over to page 169. Motion to receive staff reports, please. Councillor Oliver, Councillor Judd, moved and seconded. All those in that opinion, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you. Council, we go to page 170, General Manager Report 10.1, current events. The Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report as written.
Thank you. Current events. This recommendation that we note the report. Thank you, Councillor Winky. Councillor Oliver, moved and seconded. All those in that opinion, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you very much. Council, just to highlight on there, of course, is our budget workshop. So that obviously will be a closed session, 1 o'clock next Thursday. So I commend the Director of Administration and Finance and her team in having those budget papers ready for us as of today, and so it gives us plenty of time to observe, read, and we'll have that workshop on Thursday. Thank you. Did I put the motion? There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those that opinion, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, over to page 171, 10.2, seals for April, the Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just 3 documents there, the renewal of the golf club lease and 2 funding deeds for Tara Vetrick Road under the Fixing 60 Roads program.
Thank you very much. Councillors' recommendation there. Thank you, Councillor Smith. You're moving the recommendation the council that fixes the seals. Thank you, Councillor Sloan. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, I will put the motion to you. All those that opinion, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Over to page 172. 10.3, the Inland Rail Conference. The Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the report as written. Have you any questions?
Thank you. Councillors, in relation to, well, now the General Manager's back, do you wish to comment in relation to the report on 10.3 Inland Rail Conference?
No, not specifically to there. It's something that we're involved with through the Lachlan Rail, and it's something that Councillor Winky has attended all those meetings. The recommendation is that he continues to attend that meeting. I think there's benefit in us being there.
Thank you. I would agree with that, but it just depends whether Councillor Winky's keen, but I think he has been the one previously, some couple of years ago. Thank you. I go now to Councillor Carroll.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. With the consent of Councillor Winky, I'd like to have the recommendation that we authorise Councillor Winky to attend the Inland Rail Conference. Endorse his attendance.
Thank you very much, Councillor Oliver. Second, the motion moved, and the second is in discussion. I go to Councillor Winky. Do you accept?
I accept, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion, Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just on the Inland Rail and the corridor to Sydney and Melbourne, there was a major derailment at Bowman this morning sometime, and effectively the link is now closed until they do the repairs, so it'd be quite a costly exercise, I would have thought. Not sure what the cause was, but it's buggered.
So there's no injuries or?
Not that I'm aware of, no deaths anyway. A few people being beat up a little bit, but yeah.
Cuts and scratches, yeah. Well, thank God for that. Thanks, Councillor Oliver. Well, councillors, we have a motion from Councillor Claren and Councillor Oliver that we, the council, authorise Councillor Winky to attend the Inland Rail Conference to be held in Albury, 25th to 27th of March on behalf of Temora Shire Council. There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those in that opinion, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The motion is carried. Thank you, Councillor Winky, for being willing to fly the flag for Temora Shire. Councillors, we do have a late item from the General Manager, which is number 10.4, the Local Roads Congress. The General Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. The councillors, the Local Roads Congress is something we've attended regularly. It's been our normal practice. It's an event held by IPWIA, which is the engineers group, and with the attendance of a staff member, our staff member normally attends, the manager of engineering. A councillor also gets a complimentary attendance. In the past, Councillor Judd has been involved in that, and I think has received quite a, I would say, but found it quite beneficial. So the council's decision again.
Well, complimentary registration is always an incentive. Certainly, I remember going to one, I think when I first became mayor, and I think Councillor Judd strongly suggested that I attend, and I found it, even just the networking, I think you cannot place the value on networking, listening, learning from others, whether it's fellow councillors, mayors, staff, ministers, whoever it may be, bureaucrats. It's all very important. But Councillor Judd, do you have any comments in relation to this year's Congress?
I'm available to go to those. I was going to just endorse your remarks about networking. One of the best things, wasn't there last year, of course, but 2 years ago, the best sessions I had was, I think, over tea or at the end there with Minister Toole, and he's got quite frank with you, which he couldn't say in a conference, but he had an honest talk with you, and I think that's the sort of thing that pays to be there at these conferences.
You're quite right. So, Councillor Judd, before I ask promotion, if council want to send a staff member and a councillor, you would be willing to attend as a councillor. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, councillors, what is your wish? Councillor Slade.
I nominate Councillor Judd to go along.
So you're moving that Temora Shire Council is represented at the New South Wales Local Roads Congress on the 7th of June with engineering as staff member from the engineering department and Councillor Judd. Second, Councillor Winkie. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Councillor Judd has accepted. Further discussion? Not. I'll put the motion to. All those in opinion, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Judd. Mr. General Manager, is there anything of late nature?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, we go over to page 173. The Engineering Services Department report, 11.1, portable small stage, the engineer.
Yeah, the report is as written, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I suppose just the question initially is, does the engineer believe that this is something that could be put back in later years as opposed to being done in this year or next?
Yeah, that's my view. To be honest, it is, like, I'm not sure if you've seen the small stage, but it is extremely heavy, bulky, and requires a bit of manpower to move around. I don't think it's urgent by any means, but I don't disagree with the idea of moving to something that's more portable and easier to move around and safer and more efficient over time.
As we move forward, yeah. Thank you. We'll go to Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually think it's quite important for OHS to have weight reduced on this mobile stage, so I'd be happy to refer to budget estimates.
I thank you, Councillor Clara. I refer to the Director of Administration and Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So after receiving these reports last week, I've actually tentatively included the 7,000 in the budget estimates for the 22-23 financial year. But that's up for discussion, I guess, next week at the workshop. But it is flagged in the budget papers already.
Thank you, Madam Director. I would just say to all councillors, when you read your budget papers, then you can give it due consideration. The Deputy Mayor.
I'm just wondering this particular company that you've got a quote from, obviously in Queensland.
I understand that it's a Cobra company, but he means that in a caring way, Mr. General Manager. But at least before that question will come up. Councillors, Councillor Claren, you wanted to move the further budget estimates. We actually have, it is being included in budget estimates. So therefore, I suppose we could have a motion to endorse the actions of the Director of Admin and Finance that's referred to the estimate. So you're happy to move that way?
Happy to move that way.
Thank you, Second Councillor Reinhold. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Contrary, no. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Anything further from the Dynamic Engineering Department?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Let's now go to page 177, the Environmental Services Department report, 12.1, the Temora Shire Heritage Project, the Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the report is as written. At this point, we have not been advised if we have been successful with this grant application, so we won't have any certainty yet if council is required to make a financial contribution at this time.
Thank you very much. Well, councillors, I don't know what you wish of this. I certainly have a strong view, but I'd like to hear other councillors' views. The Deputy Mayor.
Yes, Mayor. Yes, we were wondering whether it's, once we get through our budgets, whether, the, this year, I think it's probably something that, it's not very important really, with great screen things, so, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Frankly, I think all of us in this chamber, and I think the wider community, warmly praise our Council's Heritage Committee. They're outstanding and a very special group. However, I think, $63,000 in the grand scheme of things is a heck of a lot of money. And I think the Council reviewed the budget papers. It'll be very apparent to you, I would think, what we should be doing. But anyway, that's just my view. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Perhaps this could be done staged with government grants and stuff, so perhaps that might be the way to do it to get the job. I mean, it's very important that we preserve our heritage, but it does become quite expensive at times. So, but anyway, that's one way we could proceed forward with this job.
Thank you. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councillor Oliver. I think it's important to preserve our heritage and history as well. I would like to know a bit more about the site. I googled it, I couldn't find anything, so I prefer to defer my decision until I know a bit more about the project and the history of the site. If that's
Thank you. Does the Acting Director of Environmental Services have a comment?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so we'll provide some information to councillors ahead of your budget meeting, so you can be a bit more informed about the project. Thank you.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I guess we did have a few years ago, it would have been the last term. As council, I suppose, so the council here wasn't seen out there.
Does the General Manager or the Director have any comments?
Yeah, probably not so much public consumption to me, but I'm concerned about the fact that it's not right the first time after a grant's been made, not before. As a process, an internal process.
So if we were successful, Mr. General Manager, in that grant, this council wouldn't necessarily be obliged to find 63, would it? Town Planner, the Acting Director of Environmental Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I agree that we will need to report back to council if we were to be successful in this grant application. But I note that the money that we have applied for is at the top of the limit of the grant fund, with 50,000 being the maximum that the council can apply for. So I'm uncertain of our chances of success anyway.
Thank you, but so normal procedure would be that we get it. Well, that's right, but normal procedure would be that we come to council first to see if this is something that we wanted to be part of, the Acting Director.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's another important part of this that may impact on the procedure of this project too, is the adjoining landholders would buy security and stuff like that. I don't think they've been consulted yet, I don't think so. That might be a hold up as well.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Right, the Engineering Services Manager.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. To be honest, I think you're only in holes to jump at the opportunity to have good access. And my view of this project is it'll you end up a road asset that has very little traffic that we need to get look after. And, I can assure you, if you build it to a low standard, as soon as, agricultural vehicles and heavy vehicles start using it, there'll be soon, requests for upgrade. That's my concern. That's what I'll face.
Thank you. See, I think you're right, Mr. General Manager, that should have been part of a perhaps more comprehensive report on this, because this is we're not talking significant dollars, and yes, we're all about preserving our heritage, and that's so important, but again, we're also not a money pit either. Councillor Smith.
Yes, I'd like to move that we defer this project until we find more information about it and see how we go with the grant, if the grant comes through, and then make a decision then. I'll move that we defer until we find more information.
So let it lay on the table and see further information.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. Second for the motion, Councillor McLaren. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you very much. Let's go to page 179, 12.2, Crown Land Reserves Plan of Management. The Acting Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the report is as written, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much. Councillors, any comments or questions in relation to 12.2? If not, noting that there were certainly after public exhibition, no submissions were received. If not, Councillor Mackey, the recommendation on page 179 that Council adopt the Crown Reserve Land Generic Plan of Management as exhibited. Second, Councillor Judd. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, I will put the motion to. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you very much. Way over to page 231, 12.3, the draft development construction deferred payment policy, the Acting Director of Environmental Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report is the outcome of the public exhibition. There were 2 submissions received, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Acting Director. One question I just wondered, the only thing I wondered was, have we had an appropriate legal advisor, lawyer, actually peruse our policy? Thank you. Question that notice. The Economic Development Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The policy hasn't necessarily reviewed itself by our lawyers, but we've taken advice on the legal elements in terms of council's protection on retrieving the funds.
Thank you. I just wondered whether it may be wise just to have someone peruse over if that's all. Just as a fine, that was the only thing I could see, but again, I'm in council's hands. General Manager, do you have a comment?
No, I take on board what the Economic Development Manager has said. I think the key document is going to be when we do receive an application and we have the document in place or the legal document in place, that's going to certainly be a key document that we will need our legal representatives involved in.
So you don't believe that we need lawyers to look at this policy before its final adoption?
Not so much this document if the legal advice has already been received on its contents.
Right. Thank you. I'm not quite sure I'm I'm really understanding this. Councillor Clara?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think it would be prudent to have, if this is going to be put out in the public domain and involves the granting of public funds for purposes, I think it wouldn't hurt to check on the policy specifics by an employer before it gets put in the public domain and council are obliged by the policy.
Thanks, Councillor Clara. I just feel that, I agree with that. It's the only thing that is that I can see that we should be doing before we formally sign off. General Manager?
No, my point was that if I agree it should be referred to the lawyers, but to develop a draft agreement, and that's really the key issue here. That this is only a policy framework around it, but the actual agreement is something we definitely need significant legal assistance with.
100%. That would be taken as a given. I would think. I don't know, just make me feel better, but it's up to council, because it's big, it's a significant thing that we're doing initially, which I think is fantastic. Councillor Smith?
I'm of the opinion that we seek legal advice before we put this through, because it's a bit late once you put it through, and then it's a bit like, getting the horse that's bolted, That's the way I feel on this, is rather go to the legal experts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Just to peruse the policy before council then finally considers its adoption. Thank you. The Economic Development Manager.
May I request that council, if they are to endorse the policy, endorse it with subject to approval of legal advice, if that's the way they are to go, just in the interest of time. Just to echo the General Manager's comments, that the policy doesn't necessarily commit council to anything apart from having consultation and opening up the discussion. It would be illegal if council were to enter into an agreement with a developer. A legal agreement would then need to be drafted, and that's what is where we would be bound by.
Thank you. Councillor Clara.
I'd like to move that we approve this policy subject to legal advice from council's legal advice.
On the policy?
On the policy.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Clara. Second, Councillor Smith.
Yeah.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? All I say, councillors, I have to commend councillors and staff involved in this. This is a significant policy. It's an exciting policy, and I'm very, very proud of council for getting to where we have, and hopefully when it is formally adopted, that we receive those genuine folk that are looking at wanting to enhance Temora Shire. So if there's no further discussion, I will put the motion that we adopt the policy subject to legal advice on the policy and advise those who made a submission of council's decision in writing. The mover and second are happy.
Happy.
I will put the motion. All those in that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you and well done. Councillors, we now proceed to page 241, 12.4, the Temora Rural Museum, the Acting Director of Environmental Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have received some requests from a volunteer at the TEMFM building. So the request is there for council's consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions on the report.
Thank you, Acting Director. Councillors, that report is there for your consideration. Councillor Smith.
I would like to see the toilet at our head in very close proximity, if not in the building. Because I just think it's volunteers. They're not all able. Some of them are not as fast as they used to be. I just think I've got to think about toilets and how far away they are and how quick you need it. I'd like to see that go ahead and be close to or inside that building. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. Other comments, General Manager?
In accordance with what the Director has written there, currently there is no payment made by the MFM in relation to lease of the premises.
How does that happen?
Was a council decision at the time, but the thing is, if this is going to go ahead and we're going to spend money on it, I'd strongly recommend that we recoup those funds by a regular grant.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Go to Councillor Winky.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Given the idea, I think it's a great idea, but I'm just wondering whether it should be really. I think we were talking about having it open to the general public as well, and I'm just wondering about that, whether that's going to be a really successful idea, because it's just possibly there as just a use of those in the TFM and the use only.
Thank you, Councillor Winky.
It could cause a few problems on a busy day and
thanks, Councillor Winky. Does the Acting Director have any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I do tend to agree with Councillor Winky that it most likely it would be used by those users of the TFM building when the radio station is in use.
Thank you. I now go to Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was sort of thinking a three-way partnership between Temora Shire, or the council, and the Rural Museum, and also TFM. Just sort of have a shared facility that could be used on open days, and when visitors are wandering around, it's an easy toilet to find, rather than because all the other ones are sort of concealed in the building. So that was what I was sort of tending to go down that line of a three-way partnership. That was my thoughts.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So could you compromise and have an external one built close to TFM and close the number 3 one and just have the outside one as the 24/7 cleaned and administered?
Any comments from senior staff? Yeah. Obviously, I'm in the minority of councillors, it seems, but I, for the life of me, I understand what, and admire those that stand up for what they truly believe in, but I cannot see the sense, in my mind, of erecting yet another toilet when we have one 50 metres away, then another one 85 metres away. I really don't, I really can't understand it. I think we're creating a world for our own back, to be frank, by doing this. But that's just my opinion. Councillor Winky.
Can I suggest, Mr. Mayor, that you all get older one day?
God willing, Councillor Winky, that's true. But with that view, then we're setting ourselves up for all of council's parks and so on. But this is something that we, if we proceed with it, the precedent will be set. Now who's on? The Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. My understanding is this is just from one person. I think we need to do a bit of homework first to see whether the rest of this a general feeling out there that they thought this one person. 50 metres is 50 metres on a nice clear day, but when it's pouring rain or it's the middle of the night, it's a different story. So, but I still think we need to make sure that it is warranted, not just by this one person. It's generally warranted as there.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I will note, though, that the individual would come and see me regularly, and to the credit, she did refer. I said to her, you need to talk to the management committee of the Bundawarra Centre. She has done that, and remember, they wrote a letter formally requesting us to consider it. That was considered last month, and now the report is here as a result of the options the council could consider. So I suppose, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I would say that, officially, the Bundawarra Centre Management Committee have endorsed that request. So, which, it is what it is. So, thank you. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand we have funded about portable, accessible toilets. I understand, and I'm wondering whether it could be located not semi-permanently next to TFM and moved from there to the various locations
as required,
but have it there as a reasonably permanent fixture for the TFM, but moved for Anzac Day, because it has to be kept somewhere, so it may as well be kept somewhere where it can be used and not, so what you need is a cement pad or whatever you need, but it's just a suggestion.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. So you think some bad suggestions again? I'm not an engineer. I now go to Councillor Smith.
I agree with Councillor Oliver in a lot of ways, and I think having a three-way split on that is probably a good idea. Maybe if you've got a toilet there, it could be cleaned by the TFM staff, whoever's on. If they use it, they clean it. Rather than council pay a cleaner, which costs a fairly reasonable amount in the budget. And if they get a toilet there, they clean their own toilet if it's for their use or primary for their use. I don't know, but you might have a contract to say you clean every toilet. I'm not sure what happens.
Well, that's what I would have thought is the situation where you have a contractor that cleans council's various facilities.
It's either that or a heritage toilet, which is a long cold degree.
Thank you. Thank you. That's good. So there we go. That picture earlier on. Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to put it back in your mind, that's exactly what I was thinking too. Perhaps we have an historical long drop put in there.
The old times.
I mean, that's what we used to use, and you had it on the way to the wood heap. So when you went to the long drop, you brought a log of wood back to the fire.
Excellent. Well, this is great, Councillor, and all these ideas are coming out, and it's important that these
Give you a fire again at the same time.
thank you. Councillor Slade.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with the Deputy Mayor that one of the issues, or two of the issues really, that are of some concern to the people requesting this, it is nighttime use. It's not during the daytime. Nobody's got any problem with that. Although I guess raining might be a bit of an issue. It'd be nicer if even in the daytime they didn't have to go down the long way, the 85, the long way. I don't want to get confused with long drops. But it'd be better if they didn't have to walk too far during the rain. But the question about one person has asked for it, I think is totally irrelevant. How many people do we want to ask it? Does it mean one person needs it and that the other people who work there don't go to the toilet? Is that what I'm hearing? Well, one person has asked for it, but she hasn't gone to the committee of management, I presume, and she's not a member of it. But I've certainly spoken to two people. One of them was a male, the other was a husband, and they certainly seem to be in favour of it. I like Councillor Smith's idea. If we're going to talk about a charge, let the charge be the charge of actually maintaining the clean toilet, because otherwise, where are they getting their money from? TEM doesn't run at a profit. So I really think that we've got a bit of an issue if we're going to say, well, we'll charge some sort of a rental on this toilet to a group that, as far as I understand it, doesn't get any money. But I might be wrong. That's happened twice.
Thank you, Councillor Slay. I go to the Acting Director of Environmental Services.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. One option council may be willing to consider if they'll review they would like to see a toilet installed in this location is the Community Building Partnership Fund is just about to open again. And so that has small grants up to $20,000. So there may be opportunities where council may be able to secure half of the money through a grant fund. So council may wish to consider that. That grant fund opens on Monday. So I do have arrangements to discuss further with the Director of Administration and Finance of other potential projects, but this is one that we could consider.
Thank you. So back to Councillor McLaren's suggestion about the porter boo. I'd like one of our staff members to give a genuine response to that, because, I thought on the surface it seemed like the idea had some merit. The General Manager?
Thank you, Smith. Well, the portal is a disabled or disability portal, so it's a lot larger than your standard portal. It's currently located up at the depot. There's probably grades there. It makes sense to use it elsewhere and bring it really it was originally bought for Anzac Day and Remembrance Day, the ceremonies in Gulligan Park. I think, it's certainly worthwhile reviewing that. Maybe the suggestion would be that I would make is to meet with the TMFM board and discuss the options. That could be one that's laid on the table. The only thing that would need to happen with that, there would need to be a sewer connection and a water connection. A lot cheaper option, and would possibly solve a couple of problems in that it's sitting up at the depot and taking up space, whereas it could be used usefully elsewhere. So I think it's certainly worthwhile discussing it with them. If they're not happy with that, then the other options are to build a new toilet block, which is expensive, and someone's got to pay for it. And as you said, our current budget, given our expenditure that's happening in the next 12 months, is not looking very good, as you'll see next week. So I think it's at this stage, I recommend strongly that we talk to the TMFM board and discuss what options they would like to see, what would meet their requirements.
And all options on the table. Yeah. Thanks, Mr. General Manager. Councillor Smith?
I would move that on the GM's recommendations.
That we, the council, meets with the TMFM board to consider various options, the options available. Thank you. Second, Councillor Winky, moved and seconded. Further discussion? If no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those on that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Nothing but urgent late nature from the Director, Acting Director.
No, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much for stepping in. Council, we go to page 243, the Department of Administration and Finance report, and 13.1, the records for destruction. The Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The report is as written. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Council, there's a report there that you have perused, and there's a recommendation on page 243 for council to consider. Councillor Winky.
Yep, move the recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Councillor Oliver. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. There is a late item of correspondence, which is 1.1 with Murray's Local Health, as chair of our Local Health Advisory Council. Sorry. I beg your pardon. Before I set out, there is another late item 1.1, which is more performing arts piano concerts, and I refer to the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you can see, Council, there's an application from Temora Performing Arts for us to waive or donate back the cost of the hall hire. There's also a request which is concerning for a number of reasons. I'll talk about that. For Council to tune the piano before the concert, so we're talking $362 for the hire of hall and another $352 for the tuning of the piano. The problem with the tuning of the piano, and I think Council needs to develop a very policy on it, is that every time a concert's held there, the group that's holding the concert wants us to tune the piano between $300 and $400 a time. And even if the concerts are only a few weeks apart, they want to tune before each concert. Obviously, it doesn't make a lot of sense if every time a concert's held, we have to find those dollars to tune the piano. So, I just raise that as an issue of concern.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. I just wonder why has this been long-standing practice, or why does Council have to pay the tuning? And again, I'm not a musician. I love music, but I don't understand.
It's been a practice since the piano was purchased, which is going back in the 70s or 80s, isn't it, Councillor Judd? And what has happened is that the council's tuned the piano twice a year, and that generally coincided with concerts, but you're finding more and more groups wanting to hold concerts, and each time they want the piano tuned. So I guess council's got to come up with a situation where they do it twice a year or whatever. I don't know, but we certainly can't do it. I mean, if you've got a dozen concerts a year, you can't afford to be paying tune the piano before every concert.
Thank you. We'll go to Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree it should be a policy to do strictly twice a year as required, if that was the practice in the past.
Thank you. Is there any pianists in the chamber that I'm being quite serious here as far as, what is the recommended? I would have thought annually would have been sufficient, but again, I don't know. Councillor Slade?
My understanding has been that it has been annually, and I know that I've served on a couple of committees where they've said, well, can we get the keyboard, can we get the piano tuned? And the answer was, oh no, it's only 2 months since the last one was done, and so they've gone on without it. Now, I haven't been involved in any of those committees for the last 3 years, but I don't know that they've had a massive change of policy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the thing is, when the tuning occurs, to say we're going to do it in January and June, and then in May there's we have a major concert here, it doesn't necessarily work. But we've certainly been in the past 12 months. There's been quite a few requests to tune the piano with concerts.
We've just done it.
You'd have to ask the director about that. I'm not sure how many times it's been tuned, but there's certainly a request to come.
Thank you. Councillors, I know all of us here are so thrilled that we're starting to have more and more community events, number one. This is something that we've been praying for the last 12 months, and we're so blessed we've got a strong performing arts group that are so keen and eager to provide these things. And I know they run on the smell of an oily rag, but guess what? We do too, and there has to be that policy, whether it's that 1 or 2 years that the council needs to determine, but also in relation to the holiday. Remember from the 1st of July this year that council can consider donating up to that 50% back. I think again, when we see draft budget papers, you'll see that we do have to pull our horns in, and everyone's got to carry their share of the load. The deputy mayor.
I think council should have the policy on this, and perhaps not worry about exactly what time of year it is, but just for us to stating that council will do it once a year or twice a year, and fits in with a major concert or something, that's fine, rather than saying we'll do it the 1st of January, the 1st of July, or something like that. Just say twice a year, and once that's going to be done twice a year if someone else requests it. So sorry.
Thank you. If you want to speak, can you turn your microphones on? So now I have to go to Councillor McLaren. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I believe that the Temora Performing Arts and Imagine Tomorrow have pretty good calendar of events that they tend to do each year. So I'd like to see the policy developed in consultation with them, so that this preference of what time of year can be worked out in coordination with their major. Because I know the dead balls use the piano, lots of people use the piano, so it'd be hard to charge one group and not others. It's pretty much general use. So if we can coordinate when would be an appropriate time to do it, I think that would be good.
Thank you. I now go to Councillor Joe.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to ask a dumb question. Is the piano stationary, or is it moved around between performances?
It's moved around.
Yeah, it has a special cubby hole, Councillor Judd, behind the stage that it's supposed to be. I think it's in pristine condition because they put a cover over it and put it away. It's a really highfalutin piano. Well, to me it looks like a real fancy one.
Well, that's probably why some of the reason why it's when it did being moved, that's all. So.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Good point, you think. Hang on. Now I've got two that are right. So, Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I agree with the Deputy Mayor and also Councillor McLaren. I think we should work with these user groups to see which is the most appropriate time to do it, and perhaps just do it, well, I say do it twice a year, and if it falls in any other period, perhaps the user would have to pay that expense. But I do agree with Councillor Judd too. Moving these instruments around doesn't do them any good, so if we could find a permanent place for it to be, and that would probably save a lot of tuning costs, I would say, as well.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. It's a bit challenging though, because it takes up so much space, and that's why, depending on school performances or whatever it may be, they need to, or dead balls, or, no, actually, because you have that out, but, it does need to be able to be nimble to an extent. General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In this case, probably COVID has been our friend in that there hasn't been a lot of concerts in the last little bit, and the last time it was tuned was October 2020, so it's almost on that 6 months now. I was just raising it as an issue because I think we definitely need to have the policy in place because in a month's time we get another request. At least we've got something to fall back on.
Thank you. So, there's two parts to the request, councillors, from our Temora Performing Arts Committee, and of course that is to consider donation back of the hire fee for the Memorial Town Hall, and further that be tuned. So there's two parts. What is your Councillor McLaren?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can I move that a policy be developed for the tuning of the piano at Town Hall on the basis of the 6 monthly tune in consultation with the user groups?
I'll accept that. I'll accept that as a motion. Thank you, Councillor McLaren. Is there a second for the motion, please? Councillor Winky moved and seconded. The discussion. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Slow.
I think I'd rather not see it as twice a year. I'm sorry, but I maintain my story that it has been for quite a while, once a year. And while the Director of Finance might be able to prove I'm wrong there, we discussed this quite a lot at one of the committee meetings that I was on. The other thing is, the moment you say twice a year, then you generate an urgent need. It must be twice a year. So I think that had that motion stopped, that it needs to be tuned, I think that would have been a great place to stop it.
Thanks, Councillor Slow. That's an important point. Councillor McLaren.
Can I amend that motion to be just in consultation with use groups?
So we're saying up to well, annually and annual tuning, or because I think that's very broad.
I think when the policy comes to council, we'll pass it or not with the amendments.
Okay. So let us capture this. Councillor McLaren, Councillor Winky, on your screens. What we have here is that the Council Code's policy for tuning of the piano Temora Memorial Town Hall in consultation with the Management Temora Committee. That's going to be broad, that will come back and we can tease. Yeah. Moving second, happy? Okay, thank you. No further discussion. If not, I'll put the motion. All those with that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you. Now we go to the consideration for of the request to donate part or all of the hire fee. The Deputy Mayor.
Well, to me, last time somebody came up like this, I tried to move that we don't donate anything because probably policy and they're basically told that they had to wait till the 1st of July. So I guess the same thing with this one. I just can't see why they can't build in the cost of the higher end of the charge. So I think coming to door, sure, they just don't do nothing. Why it can't be part of the charge.
Well, I think there's a lot of groups, Mr. Deputy Mayor, from the 1st of July, that if you're not already doing that, we're going to have to.
So I'll move this. We don't have the cost of hire active for this through the last time.
Thank you. So, the General Manager.
Does that include the tuning as well?
Thank you. So is there a second for the motion that the Deputy Mayor has put? And that is that we donate 100% of the associated hire fees back to the Temora Performing Arts Committee. Councillor Smith, you second the motion. Is there further discussion? Councillor Winky.
Could we also add into that, advising them that from the 1st of July that things will change?
Yeah, good point. Thanks, Councillor Winky. Yes, because again, that's going to be a very important campaign for council to promote right across the board that change that council of the day should consider donating back up to 50%. So that's been noted. Thanks, Councillor Winky. Is there further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those in that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. Declare the motion to carry. Thank you very much. The General Manager.
We still have the issue of the tuning of the piano. Given that it's been 6 months since it has been tuned, is that going to be done as well?
Excuse me. Well, councillors, are in your hands. Councillor McLaren.
If this person is travelling specifically to the town hall to do a piano concert, it may be not worth their while if it's like chopsticks, if anyone's paid to come in, the quality could be quite compromised. So I'm not quite sure what state it is. Maybe someone's practiced it and realised it was a good ear and realised it it's no good.
Thank you. Who currently sits on our Imagine Temora committee? Is it Councillor Reinhold? Councillor Reinhold, do you have any advice to council, please?
Well, I agree.
Councillor Reinhold.
Sorry, thank you, Mr Mayor. I agree with Councillor McLaren. If this is a piano concert, obviously the player is going to be very good and have very good ear. And if they're playing on a piano that's out of tune, it'll probably be very obvious. I'll come back.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor. I'd just love to know what's from somebody, you know, in the game or what have you, not the but you know, what is the optimum time? Again, you know, Councillor Slater was suggesting you thought it was annually, you know, and again, anyway, but I do take a point again with the policy now that will be formulated, that will be all part of it. So we go to Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I'm happy to pay the cost of the tuning this time, and we'll develop our policy later on. But perhaps also these user groups or whatever they are should also build not only their admission fee to cover the cost of the hall, but also to cover the cost of the tuning one. They're the ones who want to listen to it. I'm a bit like you, I like good music too, but I'm not totally fussed on that classical stuff. But
No, thank you, Councillor Oliver. Councillors, I know that all of us want to help, whether it's our sporting clubs, our cultural arts, you know, all of us, we like to help to varying extents. And certainly I'm not saying that we shouldn't be supporting, you know, at all. But, you know, we do have to, and it will become more apparent, watch every dollar that we expend, and we've all got to carry our share of the load within reason. Councillor McLaren?
If Councillor Oliver was moving that way, I'm happy to second the motion.
What was Councillor Winky?
Yeah, so does that really, I'll be looking at probably, say, suggesting a small fee on everyone that uses the piano at any point in time, of say $50 or something to go towards annual tuning. I'll leave it at that. The annual tuning means that's for that year. So how many times it gets done depends on how many times it gets used.
Yes, thanks, Councillor Winky. There is a fee, as I understand it, already placed on the usage of the grand piano, Madam Director of Administration Finance.
I believe there is a fee for the hire of the piano. I can show you off. I don't think it costs
No, that's a fair point. There is a fee.
It's 3 years to be in my mind. I think it's between $30 and $50.
But anyway, we probably could have that perhaps as part of this policy report as well. That might help councillors. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Winky. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I was going to suggest that we make this part of the piano hire policy, that fee, perhaps look at that and see if it's sufficient to cover the cost of the tuning, however many times a year we decide to do. It's not much different than going to the football game. When you get into all the administration is in your entry fee, so it's sort of not much different than a game of footy, really, so it's got to cover the costs.
Thanks, Councillor Oliver. Well, councillors, we're in
the goalpost.
We're in your hands.
Football's going to be pumped up, though.
What's your... Is there a motion before council?
Councillor Oliver.
No, nobody's moved anything yet. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, as I said before, I'm happy to move that we pay for the tuning of the piano this time because it hasn't been done for, 6 months or more, so and we didn't get used much last year, so we didn't have a lot of cost last year, and also now that I know about this fee that they have to pay for the hiring of the piano, so the money's virtually there, so I'll move that way, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Second, Councillor McLaren.
Second, and some discussion.
Yes, discussion.
Just a comment on the importance and the appreciation of music in Temora with the new. There's a lot of children who learn music in Temora, I think.
Yes.
Young music,
and obviously greatly appreciate it. And you would probably get visitations from surrounding areas like Cootamundra, etc. They may.
That's a very good point, Councillor McLaren. I think all of all of us in this chamber acknowledge, you can see the growing cultural footprint that we've had, and that's a credit to many people, particularly one I'm thinking of is one that received a mayoral citation, is Mrs. Fritsch, because she persevered when it wasn't trendy, and now you just see it just complements this place. Yes, those of us that love our sport, that's great, but also, we've got something for everyone, as far as I'm concerned, and you're quite right. Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Smith.
Yes, I think that everybody that wants to hire the town hall with the piano will want to waive the fee or get the fee donated back. And I think that we should look at it very seriously. If you've got a fee there and it's being charged for us to tune that piano, I think that it should not waive the fee at all. And I know it's harder on the young kids, but, somebody's got to pay for the piano.
That's right, and I think...
Unless they get a sponsor.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Smith. I think that has been noted by General Manager and Director in formulating a draft policy, and I'll take that on board. Thank you. The Director of Administration and Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just for the economic development manager, just go back fees and charges, it's $20 for the hire of the piano, which would have been incorporated into that $362 hire fee that we've just agreed to pay.
Thank you. So $20 for usage for a particular time of the year ball or a concert, it's a flat fee of $20. Very, very inexpensive. Anyway, we're looking at fees and charges very soon. So that's something else we could keep an eye on. Okay, Council, you have a motion before you that Councillor Oliver and Councillor McLaren have moved that Council covers the cost of piano tuning for the concert that Temora Performing Arts Committee are hosting the 2nd of May. No further discussion. Not, I'll put the motion. All those in that opinion, please say aye. Contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you. Now we go to the 1.2 late item correspondence, pardon me. I will hand over to the Deputy Mayor for this one. I'm the Chairman of the Local Health Advisory Council. Thank you.
Okay, Council, I 1.2 is the annual HD Excellence Awards and the sponsorship for upcoming awards on the 23rd of July. Several options there. Yeah, comments. We've done over this in the past.
From memory, I think last year we had an application that arrived very late, and we didn't sponsor it last year.
Thoughts, councillors? I guess that the people that they do play an important part in our society, especially over the last 12 months, with COVID and so forth. That's the one.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I agree. I think we should support them and maybe the award sponsor $1,500 with a trophy on page 15.
Councillor Arnold.
I think I support that motion to draw a sponsor.
Okay, Councillor Sharon, Councillor Ronald, you can make a motion.
Yes, I will. Thank you. Okay. The award sponsor for $1,500. This is plus cost of trophy.
There's two awards of $1,500. One's with the trophy and one without. The silver bench sponsorship $100 and the award sponsor is $1,500 plus the cost of the trophy. So the silver bench sponsor. Okay, we have a motion there. Move in a second. Do we have any further discussion?
Sorry, yes, I think I'll go back to the suggestion of the just silver event sponsor, the 1,500 rather than the award sponsor. We could do that. We did. Excellent, thank you.
Okay, councillor, there's no further discussion. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Aye. Against? Motion carried. Thank you. That is the end of the this is their notice.
There's me, I'll be back in a motion, so.
Okay, we'll have a short pause while the returns.
Okay, now it's all. Just go through like that. What do we get out of that?
That last one.
What's just the brief?
What do we get out of it?
Sawdust.
It's good to say, the nurses really come into in the last 12 months, a recognition of their contribution. I mean, this has been going on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor, for sharing that. I the resolution councils, and I do think I was a bit sort of torn. The conservative financial side of me was thinking maybe not, but I think that this, honestly, this will send a tremendous signal to, as I said, we're going to be hosting a round table, and this is Jill Larchwood, the Chief Executive of Murrumbidgee Health, doctors and council, and I just feel that also the staff at our hospital will also think that's fantastic that the council will support them. So that's a really generous and lovely thing to do, so thank you. Any further late items of correspondence, Mr. General Manager?
No,
thank you. Councillors, we have no notices of motion before us, and we now proceed to business without notice. And I'll go around the the chamber, and today we will start with the deputy mayor.
I think that's nothing for me.
Nothing, thank you. Go to councillor Reinhardt.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't recall when, but we got an email from the Economic Development Manager about a census or something about the Temora population. Well, I'll give you a little good news story. I had a flat battery just recently in the rain, and the NRMA man came to help me out, and we got talking, and he's new to Temora. His wife was a nurse in Sydney, and they weren't terribly happy living in the city, and thought, we'll do a regional little look around. So the wife and her sister took off to Cootamundra and went, thought they'd go off to Griffith, and stopped in Temora and went, this is a great little place. So the sister, the wife, her sister, the mother and father, the whole 11 of them had moved here to Temora. So I just thought I'd give you that good little news.
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Ryan. That is lovely. And I think today more than ever we cling on to those lovely pieces of information. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. We now go to Councillor Judd. This is about minutes.
Nothing to say.
Thank you. I now go to Councillor McLaren.
Nothing, Mayor.
Thank you for that. Councillor Winky.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to give, I think, Councillor McLaren himself would like to thank GM for the screens in front of us down here. We feel quite privileged. And I'm going to ring up and Councillor White with the chiropractor in the morning. Thank you very much to the GM and the staff for installing those. They certainly do make life a lot easier. I'm looking forward to coming back to the next meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Winky. And you're quite right that it is impressive and will save a lot of expense. Thank you. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll probably have to say I don't have to go to the chiropractor as much as what Councillor Winky and Councillor McLaren do, but Councillor Judd and I still have to go sometimes, and I feel that's pretty handy too. But anyway,
Very good put out.
But just in regard to Councillor Reinhold's comments about the new people moving to town, they're lovely people. I've met Chris Barton, and he works down at South West Hall where I used to work, and I had his kids on the bus as well. Not only have they moved to town, they're also looking at building new dwellings on that particular block they bought down Underwire Road as well. So they'll bring more than just their 11 people to town. They'll also bring a little bit of money as well and economic development and stuff. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And now go to Councillor Slade.
I never realised before just how disadvantaged our press is. But here they are up the back. Not only do they not have screens on their desk, they have absolutely no chance. So I think your largesse, Mr. General Manager, you were given credit for it, should be repeated. Of course, you can discuss that with the press.
Thank you, Councillor Slade. I'll just make it up anyway. No, that's something I think the General Manager has noted. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Smith.
Yeah, I just, one, there's been what the people out there doing the slashing are doing a great job. They're going up Bum Edmund Road when I came to council this afternoon. The only problem is when you come in off the Nowring Road and look left, you can't see because of the high grass there. And it's just not taking back running. All right in our car, but you've got people like the neighbour's car, which is a little low car, and you've nearly got to put your wheels right out to the white line before you can see it. They just get a little bit more off there. I know earlier in the year I went down to the Griffiths Necker and knocked all the black oats there, and it made a lot of difference. But they do a fantastic job everywhere else. The other thing I thought about was, when I was thinking this, I thought, maybe it's time to look at doing the bit alongside the bridge at the lake before it gets too high and dry, and if you do a bit of preparation time, that they do a fantastic job and what a great crew we got. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Smith. I see that the engineer's written down those 2 points, and thank you, Sheikh. But also, I think it's great, councillors, that you just said, councillor, again, whether that's, technically speaking, according to oil, but that spirit of wanting to, to help out, I think that's great. So,
but if you get neighbours to council every day, you've got to do something.
Well, council appreciate what you've done. Thank you, Councillor Winky.
Yeah, I did forget to mention that I was asked to speak to Warwick Rovers Club that came across at Temora. They visited the Railway Museum in the morning and had a wonderful time up there. They had lunch at the Termo where I caught up with them there and as well, and they were just absolutely gobsmacked at the progress with what's happening in Temora and hadn't realised that so much was going on over here at all. And so that was just it was a nice time to spend with them. And they really had a great time. They're getting up to the Royal Museum after that there. So they had a full day and travelled across in cars and had a good time.
Well, thank you very much, Councillor Winky. Councillor Smith?
Yeah, just one little thing I forgot. At the lake on Sunday, there was car clubs from everywhere, from Wollongong to the north coast. There was over 200 people were catered for, cancers, and they all said what a fantastic venue the lake is. And I said, well, come and live here.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, they all said what a great venue it was. PowerPoint in the barbecue area doesn't work yet. At the lake, that main thing. I just remember that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. And I had the honour of opening, I send the formal welcome, or anyway, up at the Greyhound Park, and the 100 and whatever it was, 50 or 60 people from all walks of life, all age groups and demographics. It was just a fantastic feeling to be frank with you, and one of the lovely things, and actually environmental, a health and building surveyor, in the senior years, come up to me, and he's what's the council at Newcastle? What are they called?
Newcastle City.
Oh, okay.
How does he remember all
this? No, what is it? Oh, it is. Oh, right. Big and he just could not heap praise enough on Temora Shire in terms of what we have to offer and the people. Look, honestly, a comment like that just made your day. And coming from a city slicker, it meant even more, to be frank. It really, really did. So you're quite right, Councillor Smith. It was just well done to all involved with the Antique Motor Club, that's for sure. Councillor Judd?
I just following on from that Antique Motor Club. They were at Eric Park on Saturday, and they really was a great scene in the main street. We did have a debate, a recent council meeting, whether we would allow closing the street, and I think that's we've done a great lot of work in our main street, Eric Park, and have cars like that. Really seeing it off was a great spectacle, and thank council for that support.
Thanks very much, Councillor Judd. The engineer.
Thank you, Smith. Yeah, something that you mentioned in the Mayoral Minute, I think is definitely worth mentioning, just in relation to this funding on the Old Coodamundra Road. With the funding of that section of the Old Coodamundra Road, that is the last section of widening for our, what's been I'd say 30 to 40 year widening program on our highest class of local seal roads. Here only 5-6 years ago, we had 40 odd kilometres left to do, and we've just been very lucky to receive large amounts of funding. We've done a couple of projects on the Trundle Hill Road, done 2 on the Rangel or 3 on the Rangel Road lately, and we've just been funded for 3 on the Tarabetric Road, and then we've just received funding for the Old Cooter, and that winds up that widening program that's been going for, well before my time. I've been here for 20 years. It's good to see it finished, I reckon.
Thank you, Mr. Engineer. Councillors, I touched on earlier that the General Manager will be taking, I would suggest, long overdue annual leave. We do, Mr. General Manager, wish you a very, very enjoyable, relaxing break. I have to say that we're happy to take holidays. Of course, we know it hasn't been easy with certainly with COVID hitting, but you've certainly earned it, and we do look forward to you coming back fresher and bigger and better and cheekier than ever. And just enjoy yourself, and to Mrs. Lavelle too.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, I mentioned about the budget workshop next week, a crucial session for us. It will be a closed session, of course, 1 o'clock. And just lastly, Councillor, certainly not least, that we will be having a function of 100 years to the day of the laying of the foundation stone of this beautiful 100-year-old chamber, or nearly 100. It will be a special occasion. The Deputy Prime Minister will be with us as well. He loves celebrating anything that's old or senior in years. And so we're so grateful that he's going to be with us to spend an hour or two with us and reflect on, I suppose, on many decisions that have been made in this chamber, and how those that have been privileged to sit in these respective chairs, whether it's as an elected alderman or councillor or as a staff member, it certainly is a real privilege, and I think that occasion will remind us. So that is all. No further business without notice.
The date of that, sorry?
Councillor Slade, that will be on Tuesday, the 18th of May.
Thank you.
The invitations will be coming out. The executive assistant will be sending those out. So that will be 100 years to the day of when Mayor Callaghan laid the foundation stone. His granddaughter we've invited her as well to be part of that occasion. So, thank you. I would like a motion receiving information paper, please. Thank you, Councillor Winky. Councillor Oliver, move to second. All those in favour, please say aye. No. Information carried. Thank you. Any items, councillors, in the information paper that you wish to draw council's attention to? Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on page 254, the building approvals in March. I'm just saying there's 3 new dwellings, 3 home-based businesses, tuck in another solar farm as well. And then you've got the Dustin Rose proposed estate down there, Dustin Rose, whatever it's called. There's a lot to be pretty pleased about, isn't there, in this community at the moment, that look forward to, I reckon. So just very pleasing to see what's in front of us. I don't know where all the builders are going to come from. I know there's a hell of a wait for, well, I know of 2 or 3 people that are waiting for builders, and it's not a short wait, it's a 6 or 8 month wait. 2 years, yeah, well, there you go.
It is.
So there's a lot to be pleased about, isn't there?
Well, you're right, Councillor Oliver, and it is an exciting time for many reasons, and I think it's important that we highlight that and not take it for granted. Now let's see anything further. Look, I've got to raise this page 256 in the regulatory report, and we know that our engineer is so warmly respected for many reasons. But I'm looking here again at the scooters and bikes on our footpaths. Now, council a little long ago indicated that they're not supposed to be there between those Austin Street, Tourism Parks Yeah. Now, it's supposed to be a combination of our police force and the ranger to police that. And again, we know that they're all busy as bees doing many varied things. But to be frank, I keep seeing these things on a daily basis going down the street, and some, really sensibly, and others ridiculously. And then when you analyse it, do we want our real little ones, if they can't be there, do we want them on the roads? And of course, I wouldn't think that would be wise. But so I suppose, Council, what I'm wondering is, do we still believe that it's relevant to have ban notices there when, frankly, it is not being policed as it should be? And for me, it seems if it's not being policed, do they need to be there? But then I worry about, Council Wick, Council Smith, you remember, and other councillors that on walking talk tours, which we'll have to arrange to beforehand here. What were we told? Nearly every business. Scooters and bikes on the footpath. So, it's either an issue that we continue, to pursue, and that's with police and the ranger, or we review whether it's necessary to have those ban notices in place, because it simply isn't being enforced. Councillor Smith.
In Robbie yesterday for the levy of lodging, and the pedestrian crossings there has a sign for people that are riding bikes to dismount off the bike to go over the pedestrian crossing. They don't do it here. And Claire said, well, that's fine, we need some of them tomorrow. That's, but I do agree with you, because many years ago I got rolled over a step down at a white shop. The kid got away because he could get up and run past it. And it's, it could be an older person than me, that's not hard. But if it breaks their hip or something,
that's the way.
Where's the insurance?
That's the way.
Who pays for it?
I've seen some very shaken up, ladies in their senior years particularly, and even some fellas, and again, you feel for them, because I think it's the shock of it, it is a worry, but it's something that I do think we need to determine where we're at and what we do in this space. Councillor Jay.
I just support Councillor Smith. Even a number of times I've seen it more, especially recently, the Park Street round pedestrian crossing where the children are using their scooters to just whip across in front of traffic. It really needs to be something done by the police, or what Councillor Smith suggests, signage that they have to hop off to walk across.
Thank you. Councillor Slade.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If we're going to have a rule that says you can't have bikes or scooters going along our footpath and we don't police it, then does that mean that we don't have to obey any other rules as well? I think and I've maintained this for 10 years in this place, I think it's really sad that even though the police have told us they will help us, and even though, we all have the highest regard for us, the reality is that they don't get caught, and they know they're not going to get caught. They're not going to be penalised. And it's only going to take one accident, but it might be $500,000 accident against the council. And that's the sort of thing that I think we've got to be very careful of. However, I suggest that the last thing I want to see is any more signs. They don't work now. I should double the number work. But what I would like to see is a coordinated attempt by council staff, senior people from the council, somebody in the police force who can tell police officers what to do, Ross, and school principals. Because I think that if we can get the school principals, and particularly particularly the primary, but the lower secondary schools as well, where they're at fault, if we can get some sort of a coordinated and concerted effort, then we might get some results.
Thanks, Councillor Slow. I think that is quite right. We do have to arrange, which is on the radar of our annual Principals Forum. So that will be happening in the next month or two. But I agree with you. I think that if this council deems that this is an important issue, we do need to get the major players in, sit around the table and say, right, this is what is currently happening. This is the policy that council have. How can we enforce it? Because if council want to continue to enforce that, well, we've got to not just sit on our backsides and bellyache about it. We've got to be proactive. So I agree, Councillor Slow, with what you're suggesting. Thank you. I go now to the Engineering Services Manager.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things. Yeah, it's a very, very difficult rule to enforce. The trouble seems to be with teenagers or older kids in that sort of later age of primary school, but I can guarantee you almost every single weekend, if you go down the street, you'll see a number of families walking down to get a coffee, and they'll have pram, and they'll have a little kid on a push bike, and another little kid on a scooter. And how do you enforce a rule that can't be enforced? In black and white. No, I think it's extremely difficult. And the other thing about adding signs that tell kids dismount at the pedestrian crossings, I think it's hard to have a rule say no scooters, but if you do come in, you've got to dismount when you cross the road. It's either you do or you don't. Listen, I'm not suggesting it's not an issue. I'm saying it's extremely difficult to enforce, and there are parts of it that we should be encouraging people to walk with their kids and have a vibrant main street, this sort of stuff. If you go drawing a hard line, I can tell you now there's a lot of quite good people that are doing the right thing that shouldn't be there.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. That's true, and I think the council acknowledges the fact that it's not an easy one, but the reason why it's raised is that it is currently a policy that we don't have them on the footpath. So that's why I think it's important what Councillor Slow said, that we have the relevant parties involved, a round table to have a yarn and report back to council some possible recommendations or outcomes from that round table for council to consider. Councillor Smith.
It's also the speed of cars, how fast some people actually drive those cars. What is there, a 10 kilometre speed limit on the street with the cars? In Europe, what do they go? They can go on the freeway at 70 k's. I hate to be on one of 70 k's like that.
It is scary. Thanks, Councillor Smith. General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The thing to remember too about children on push bikes is that they can legally ride on the footpath, and there's nothing council can do in terms of a bylaw to stop them from riding on. If they're under the care of a parent, it was a deliberate effort by the state government, or probably the national governments as well, but certainly the National Road Safety Council, to keep kids off the road. So you don't want to stop that sort of thing, as the technical services manager or engineering services manager has just raised. But I would caution against, even though it mightn't be enforced strictly, I'd still caution against removing that requirement, because it is something to fall back on when there's antisocial behaviour on scooters and bikes. If someone's doing the wrong thing, then it can be relied upon. You're not really trying to stop a 12-year-old who's with or a 10-year-old who's with their parents from going along the footpath. You don't want to force them out onto the road. It's a road safety issue. But if you've got an 18-year-old on a bike heading down the street, well, at least the police and the road then have the authority, because of that regulation, to stop them and talk to them about it or issue a fine. So I'd caution against getting rid of it, even though it mightn't be enforced to the letter at this stage.
Thank you. I just wanted Councillor Slade to move forward. Councillor McLaren.
Oh, I just wondered whether a qualification should be put in it to be dangerous or. Surely other councils have policies to cover these issues we couldn't.
Well, to that end, thank you, Councillor Curran. To that end, I do think that Councillor Slade has a great idea about a round table with police, with relevant council team, obviously the ranger, principals and others as identified there, a round table, have a yarn. From that, there'll be a suite of recommendations, if any, to come back to council to consider a way forward. I honestly think that would be a very positive thing to do, and also not only let those involved know that, you know, this is an issue that obviously, you know, council are concerned about to an extent. But there may be some positives that come out of it to go forward. General Manager?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I was just going to say, Councillor McLaren comments there, that the reason why it was introduced in the first place was actually not to do with pedestrian safety, it was to do with protection of the footpath. And the fact that it was the sport of the day was to try and do wheelies on skid marks on the footpath. But that's not, they don't seem to be doing that, and that's not a challenge anymore. We're really now looking at pedestrian safety more than protection of our assets.
Thank you. Councillor Slade.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hope that when such a discussion occurs between those people nominated, that we listen to what the General Manager has said, because yes, that's a very balancing, very important perspective to realise there's pluses and minuses, but if the term dangerous is going to change the nature of the instruction, then that might be a good one, but it does highlight the value. It just won't be a whole lot of old people getting together and saying, we don't like kids. That's not a term of teacher. So I leave it at that.
Thank you. Councillor Slade, would you be prepared to move that council convene a round table discussion with appropriate parties to discuss the issue of scooters and bikes on footpaths and further to come back to recommend to council?
I would.
Thank you. Second information, please. Councillor Smith, thank you. Moved and seconded. Further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
The contrary, no. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. No further items of information paper. If not, in accordance with section 10A of the Local Government Act, advised that there are several matters that have been confidential. Accordingly, I require motion to have those matters considered, please. Deputy Mayor has moved that way. Second of the motion, please. Councillor Winkie. Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those in that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
That motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Council. We have resumed back into open council, and I do advise that the following motions have been brought forward from closed session into open session, and those motions are as follows. On the motion of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, and second to Councillor Winkie, Council moved into confidential at 6:24 p.m. Minutes of the Confidential Road Toll Raking Committee from the 22nd of March 2021 were moved on the motion of Councillor Smith and Councillor Reinhold. The reports were received and that motion was carried. On the motion of Councillor Smith and Councillor Oliver, it was resolved that the reports and recommendations as presented be adopted and carried. Minutes of the Confidential Assets and Operations Committee from the 6th of April 2021. On the motion of Councillor Winkie and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, it was resolved that the reports be received and that motion was carried. On the motion of Councillor Judd and second of Councillor McLaren, it was resolved that report REP 21-410 be amended to state that a gate be installed at each end and after the property, and that motion was carried. On the motion of Councillor Winkie and seconded by the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, it was resolved that the remainder of the reports and recommendations as presented be adopted and the motion was carried. Bless you. Minutes of the Economic Development Visitations Committee from the 6th of April 2021 On the motion of Councillor Reinhold and Councillor McLaren, it was resolved that the reports be received. The motion was carried. Bless you. Moved, Councillor Oliver and Councillor Winkie, that resolved that the reports and recommendations as presented be adopted, and the motion was carried. Salary work arrangements policy. On the motion of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, seconded Councillor Winkie, it was resolved that Council endorses the committee recommendations and adopt the policy as presented. The motion was carried. Proposed pay structure regrading for HC truck operators. On the motion of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair and Councillor Winkie, it was resolved that Council endorse the committee's recommendation. The motion was carried. The Temora Agriculture Innovation Centre agreements. On the motion of Councillor Winkie and Councillor Oliver, it was resolved that Council endorse the actions taken by Council as outlined in the report, and the motion was carried. On the motion of Councillor Slade and seconded Councillor Smith, it was resolved that Council moves the motions from closed business into open council, and the motion was carried. On the motion of Councillor Judd and seconded Councillor Reinhold, it was resolved that Council moves out of closed council 7:26 p.m. and into open council. That motion was carried. So, Council, could I please have a motion adopting all of those resolutions formally, please? Councillor Slade, Councillor Smith moved and seconded. Further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Any further business for open council? If not, thank you very, very much for your attendance and your input, and I declare the meeting closed.